Hello, First Christian Church McKinney friends. You are with me, your senior pastor, Peter Mitchell, and our very good friend, Mr. Steve Dixon from the Stewardship Committee. And what we want to do with you today is just give a real quick but helpful overview for the 2022 Congregational Budget that funds ministry in the year to come. This budget is up for approval at the Congregational meeting this coming Sunday, February 6th, following each of our two worship services at 9 and 11 o'clock. This budget comes from the Stewardship Committee with input from various committee chairs here at the church. It's been sent to the First Christian Church Board for approval. And so with its approval from the board, it's now sent to the congregation for its final approval, as we do each year to ratify the funds approved for ministry here at First Christian Church McKinney. I've asked Steve to come on and be a part of this conversation. Steve's going to walk us through some really good news about where we are financially as a church and what we're looking ahead to in 2022 and the budget that we're being asked to consider for the year. So Steve, take it away, my friend.
Hey, Peter and First Christian Church, it's great to be with you today. I appreciate each of your time over the next 2 or 3 minutes here as we take a look at the budget. A special call out and shout out to our Stewardship Committee. Sandy Baxter is our chair, Kim Salisbury, Butch Irby, Lori Cooper, Brian Magruder, and Dane Bailey, as well as ex officio members of Ross Wells and Peter Mitchell. Be sure and thank each one of these people along the way as you're reviewing the budget. As it relates to the budget, we've got a ton of great news. Peter, you referenced that 2021 was a strong year. It sure was, and we wrapped up with a surplus this year. And so with any financial presentation, hooray, right? Hooray. And with any financial presentation, you always have to do a PowerPoint, right? So here we go with a PowerPoint and a set of slides. We're not in presentation mode today, just based upon how it's working on this recording. So apologize for that, but I think you can see each of the screens here with each step. Along the way, please know if you have any detailed questions, please don't hesitate to stop one of the Stewardship Committee members that I just previously mentioned. They're happy to answer any questions for you, as well as we'll have detailed copies of the budget at your request, should you want one. 2021, as we look at the year just finished, Peter, it was a great year. We ended with a surplus. At the very bottom, that surplus was over $230,000. Wow. I think that's a record year in the life of First Christian Church in the operating budget. We've been abundantly blessed and graced by the generosity of our congregation. So a big shout out and thank you to everyone watching the video. Offerings, one-time offerings, are well over $700,000, and we crushed our budget and our expectations by well over $200,000 this last year. A lot of that giving came in late in the calendar year. We kept our budget on par for the year, and so it's leaving us with a surplus. We're going to take a lot of those dollars and invest them in calendar 2022 and the year ahead. Another component of strength and health of our congregation is when you take a look at the last 2 years and our giving households. No one really likes to add these things up, but it's a good reference point. Our household giving's grown from 119 to 137 households that are giving regularly. That's up 18 or 15%, double-digit growth. Super encouraging there, Peter, related to the health and growth of our congregation.
Absolutely. Thankful
for that. As we look at the budget for 2022, it's our biggest yet. It's over $550,000 in offerings. It's up about 3.4% or $18,000, Peter. We also have our other receipts predominantly coming from Crossing Point, as well as other reimbursements that come through the church, such as mission trip. And this year, what I referenced earlier, we are drawing some of those excess reserves from 2021 into 2022 and spending about $107,000 to balance the budget. We're making healthy investments in our salaries and administration, fully funding every position with merit increase. Healthy increases in property, family life and family life ministries and education, church promotion, and even some discretionary funds for our executive committee for some of those unknowns that always happen, Peter. So when we look at it, our budget's approaching $720,000. We're really confident in that, but it does require an increased commitment on everyone's behalf to get there. Think of it at about 3.5%. Again, those highlights funding all of our staff and merit increases beginning January 1. All positions, including contemporary band, both services, Peter. Growth in all of our committee budgets. Increases in property for general repairs and maintenance. We know we're going to have some increases in utilities. Things aren't getting cheaper. We're running our church 7 days a week now. And we know we're going to have costs and other things like insurance. We're putting seed money back in to fund family life ministries at over $25,000 this year. So those great spring, summer, and fall events that you saw with zoos, Easter egg hunts, vacation Bible school, and so much more, those things that the church really wrapped their arms around, lots of resources there to continue those types of programs and more. We've got over $18,000 with the executive committee for those things that we just don't know about, so we can double down and make those investments, because we're seeing high rates of inflation right now, whether that's in staff and staff bonuses or other programs that we want to grow and develop. There's resources for that. And then we've heard from church promotion and wanting to increase some of the components of our advertising. And so there's allowances for that. And then, of course, investments in administration that are pretty self-explanatory across custodial costs that are on the rise, property and grounds and landscaping. We fully funded the landscaping and beautification project as well, which is also great news. An investment of over $90,000 in landscaping and the beautification of the exterior of our building. COVID and safety, as well as professional investments as we've changed some of our professional services and moved to Collin County bookkeeping services. All that to say, all in all, super excited and can't be looking more forward to what's ahead in the year. So with that, Peter, I'm going to kick it back to you with any highlights or any other closing remarks.
Excellent. Well, I think just a couple of contextual notes. Again, I think the increase in number of giving households is huge, and it points back to the type of people growth, the expanse in the nature and network of the relationships we have here at the church, and folks who are officially calling this place their church home. That's huge news. I think it's also important to note that on the same slide you're showing us now, in 2021, total expenditures of $557,000. Well, that's well under the budgeted amount. And so there's a lot of discernment going on the part of folks here at church responsible for expenses. Committees, staff people, folks who are responsible for the expenditure of a given line item are being careful and making shrewd decisions to see that these are worthy expenses that we make. And so I'll just caution to say, we could very well spend every dollar of our budgeted money in 2022. But I also have great trust in the folks responsible for our expenses that we're making good decisions when we spend money. And then finally, the third thing I would say is we have this wonderful rollover of money from 2022 to lean on, or 21 to lean on in 22. I think it's important to note that we made the same assumption in the year 2020 and in the year 2021. And in both of those years, did not lean on those reserve funds in order to fulfill the ministry budgets that we had. And so now that's not to say that that's going to be a repeat performance, but what we have seen time and again is between the stewardship of those responsible for expending funds and the generosity of those responsible for giving to this church, there's a wonderful partnership and a real high level of trust where we're going to make good decisions for the best interest of the ministry of the church and the funds that God has entrusted with us. So I couldn't feel better, like you, Steve, could not feel better about where we find ourselves financially, spiritually, relationally as a church. This budget sets us up to do some really incredible things and to amplify even more of the good work that we've seen done in recent years.
Yep. Like no other year, Peter, we're really doubling down and making some investments, some wise investments in how we want to grow the programming of our church, and just super excited that the resources are there to underwrite those programs. And so couldn't be more thankful and blessed by the generosity of our congregation.
Absolutely. Friends, we want to reiterate the invitation to be part of the congregational meeting to consider and approve this budget. It's going to follow both services and at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock this coming Sunday, February 6th, 2022, here at First Christian Church McKinney. Cannot wait to worship with you and celebrate the really incredible things that God is doing and the ways that God is blessing us through the work that we share together as the church. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday. God bless you and have a great week. Thanks, Steve, for being part of this conversation.
You bet. Thank you all.
Bye, friends.